That night was quiet. Too quiet for anything to go wrong. I was already in my nightgown when there was a knock at the door. By morning, an envelope sat on my kitchen table. It had my name on it, and a debt I never agreed to carry. That was the moment my parents stopped feeling like just my parents. The morning felt too quiet. The kind of quiet that presses on your ears. I sat at the kitchen table. The same table where I once helped my mother sort coupons. The same place my father used to read the newspaper. The envelope lay in front of me. Thick paper. Official words. No return warmth. I kept reading my name. Over and over. As if it might change. I had done nothing wrong. I knew that. Yet my hands would not stop shaking. The coffee went cold. I did not notice. I thought about my parents. How they taught me to pay bills on time. How my father once drove across town to return an extra $1 the cashier gave him. This letter did not belong to them. At least that is what I wanted to believe. I read the numbers again. $247,000. It felt unreal. Like a typo that refused to correct itself. I looked around the kitchen. The faded curtains. The clock ticking louder than usual. Everything looked the same. But something had already shifted. I tried to remember the last time I spoke to my parents. My mother had asked if I was sleeping well. My father joked about his garden. Nothing in their voices warned me. I folded the letter carefully. Too carefully. Like it might break. A question sat in my chest. Heavy. Unspoken. Why was my name here? I was not ready to ask it yet. But I knew I would have to. The room felt smaller. The air thicker. That morning was the first time I understood something important. Sometimes the truth arrives quietly. And by the time you hear it, your life has already changed. I closed my eyes and tried to remember my parents as they were. Not as the names on that paper, but as the people who raised me. They were careful people. Slow. Thoughtful. My mother kept receipts in small envelopes. She wrote dates on them in blue ink. Even for groceries. My father believed in paying cash. He said debt was a kind of noise that never let you sleep. That was the house I grew up in. Rules on the fridge. Bills paid on Fridays. Quiet pride in doing things the right way. So this letter did not fit. It sat wrong in my memory. I walked through old moments like rooms. Birthday cakes made at home. School clothes washed by hand. A life built on small, careful choices. They never talked about money problems. Not once. If there were struggles, they kept them folded inside themselves. I remembered my mother telling me, "Your name is the only thing that truly belongs to you." She said it like a promise. That is why seeing my name on that notice hurt so deeply. It felt misplaced. Borrowed. Used. I asked myself if I had missed something. A sign. A hesitation in their voices. Had they ever asked me strange questions? About my social security number. About signing papers I did not read. Nothing came to mind. The more I searched my memory, the more confused I became. Because the parents I knew would never do this. At least, that is what I told myself. But doubt has a quiet way of entering. It does not knock. It waits. I thought about age. How time can wear people down. How fear can make careful people careless. I wondered when it started. Not the debt, but the silence. Somewhere between love and survival. A line must have blurred. That thought frightened me more than the money. Because if this letter was true, then my parents had been carrying something alone for a very long time. And I had never noticed. That day, I learned another hard lesson. The people who teach us honesty are still human. And sometimes, the secrets they keep are not meant to hurt us. They are meant to save themselves. I unfolded the letter again. Slowly. Like opening something fragile. My eyes went straight to the number. $247,000. I said it out loud. Just once. To see if it sounded different. It did not. Numbers are supposed to be neutral. Cold. Clean. This one was not. It carried weight. It pressed on my chest. It made my breath shallow. I tried to understand it in pieces. 1,000. 10,000. 100,000. But my mind kept circling back to the whole. 247,000. I thought about what that could buy. A small house. Years of groceries. Peace. Instead, it sat on a single sheet of paper. With my name beside it. I felt small in that moment. Smaller than I had in years. I had worked my whole life to be careful. To save. To avoid mistakes that could not be undone. And now, without my consent, I was tied to something massive. I imagined a rope. Thin at first. Then tighter. I wondered how long it had been there. Years. Maybe decades. The letter listed dates. Years I recognized. Years I did not. Each one felt like a door I had never opened. I noticed how the paper never explained feelings. Only facts. Amounts. Deadlines. No space for fear. No room for confusion. I thought about my parents again. How old they were now. How slowly they moved. I asked myself a question I did not want to answer. Could they even fix this if they tried? That thought hurt more than anger ever could. I felt torn in two directions. Toward responsibility. And toward love. The number did not care about either. It just existed. Large. Unmoving. I placed the letter back on the table. It looked harmless. Almost polite. But I knew better. That number was not just debt. It was time. It was trust. It was a future already bent. In that moment, I understood something clearly. Some numbers do not live on paper. They live in your body. And once they do, they never truly leave. I waited a full day before I made the call. Not because I wanted to. Because I needed to breathe first. The phone felt heavy in my hand. Like it already knew what it was about to say. When someone answered. Their voice was calm. Professional. Unmoved. I gave my name. Slowly. Clearly. They repeated it back to me. As if it belonged to them now. I explained that there had to be a mistake. That I had never owed anything like this. That I had never signed up for it. There was a pause. Short. Practiced. Then they read from the screen. Dates. Amounts. Connections. My name appeared again. Linked. Official. I asked how that was possible. The answer came without emotion. It was legal. It was on record. It had been that way for years. I felt something sink inside me. Not panic. Not yet. It was disbelief. They told me my identity was attached. That the debt had grown. That time had done its work quietly. I listened as if I were not in my own body. Like I was hearing someone else's story. I asked what I could do. The question came out small. The options were listed. Appeals. Forms. Proof. Each word felt like another step down a long hallway. I realized then that this was not about error. It was about ownership. Someone had placed my name somewhere it did not belong. And the system had accepted it. The voice on the phone did not judge. It did not comfort. It simply moved forward. When the call ended, the room felt hollow. I stared at the wall for a long time. Longer than I meant to. That was the moment it became real. Not when I read the letter. But when my name was spoken as if it had always been there. I understood then that this was no accident. No misunderstanding. It was a decision. Made quietly. Long ago. And now, it was mine to face. I did not go to my parents' house right away. I needed time to steady myself. When I finally drove there, the road felt longer than I remembered. The town had not changed much. Same grocery store. Same post office. Same slow traffic light that always stayed red too long. Their house came into view. Small. Familiar. The paint was more faded now. The porch steps worn smooth. I parked across the street and sat there. Hands on the steering wheel. Heart beating louder than the engine. This was the house where I learned to wait. For dinner. For forgiveness. For answers. I walked up the path slowly. Each step felt heavier than the last. The porch smelled like old wood and morning air. The same smell from my childhood. I stood there for a moment. Listening. No voices. No music. Just the quiet hum of the town. I raised my hand to knock. Then lowered it. I was not sure who I would meet on the other side of that door. My parents. Or strangers wearing their faces. Finally, I knocked. The door opened slowly. My mother's eyes met mine. She smiled. Then she saw my face. The smile faded. She knew. We sat in the living room. The furniture arranged the same way it had always been. Plastic covers still on the cushions. I held the letter in my lap. Folded. Heavy. My father sat across from me. His hands folded tightly together. I placed the letter on the table between us. No words yet. The room filled with something unspoken. Fear. Shame. Love. That silence said more than any explanation ever could. In that moment, before anyone spoke, I knew the truth was coming. And I knew it would not be easy to carry. No one spoke at first. We just sat there. The clock on the wall kept ticking. Slow. Loud. I watched my father's hands. They were older now. Veins raised. Familiar. My mother kept smoothing her skirt. Over and over. A nervous habit from long ago. I slid the letter closer to them. Not pushing. Just enough. My father looked at it. Then away. My mother reached for it with both hands. She did not open it. She already knew what it said. I asked one question. Soft. Careful. Why is my name here? My voice surprised me. It did not shake. My mother closed her eyes. Just for a second. My father cleared his throat. When he spoke, his voice was smaller than I remembered. They did not deny it. That hurt more than anything. They told me they never meant for it to happen this way. That it started with help. With trust. Bad advice from someone they believed. Someone who said it was temporary. Someone who said it would never reach me. Years passed. Penalties grew. Silence became habit. They waited for the right time to tell me. That time never came. Fear lived in their house quietly. It sat with them at dinner. It slept in the next room. I listened without interrupting. My chest tight. My heart split. I saw their fear clearly then. Not as parents, but as aging people trying not to fall. My mother cried. Quietly. The kind of crying that asks for nothing. My father apologized. Once. Then again. I wanted to be angry. Part of me was. But another part saw how love and fear had tangled together. How desperation can twist even good intentions. That was the hardest moment. Realizing they loved me. And still did this. Fear can sound a lot like love when parents are desperate. The room felt heavy with it. We sat there a long time after. No solutions yet. Just truth. And once the truth is spoken, there is no going back. They started from the beginning. From a time I thought was simple. Years ago. Money had grown tight. Medical bills. A small business that did not survive. They said they tried to handle it quietly. The way they always had. Someone told them there was a way to manage the taxes. To delay. To rearrange things on paper. It sounded harmless at first. Temporary. Reversible. They were tired. Worried. Afraid of losing the house. They said my name came up as a solution. Someone said it would help them qualify. Someone said it would never affect me. They believed it because they needed to. Because the alternative felt unbearable. Years passed without trouble. Each year made it harder to speak. The debt grew slowly. Interest. Penalties. They told themselves they would fix it before I ever knew. Before it reached me. Time does not listen to promises. As they spoke, I watched them age in front of me. The weight they had carried finally had words. I asked why they never told me. My mother said she was afraid I would stop loving them. That sentence stayed with me. I realized then that this story was not about money alone. It was about fear. And silence. They loved me. That was clear. But love had made them reckless. And silence had made it worse. I sat there. Holding two truths at once. They were my parents. And they had crossed a line. The room felt smaller. But something else felt larger. Understanding. Understanding does not erase harm. But it changes how we carry it. That night, I drove home knowing this was not just their story anymore. It was mine too. In the days that followed, I lived between two worlds. One was made of laws and letters, forms, deadlines, rules written in cold language. The other was made of memory, Sunday dinners, hands that once held mine. I learned quickly that the law does not ask how you feel. It asks what you can prove. Love did not appear on any form. Neither did regret. I spoke to advisors. Read pages I never wanted to understand. Each answer felt incomplete. The law said responsibility follows the name, no matter how it got there. My heart said something else. That love should protect, not burden. I stood in the middle of those truths, pulled in both directions. Forgiveness came easier than clarity. But forgiveness did not solve anything. I realized that letting go emotionally was different from letting go legally. Some nights I lay awake thinking about fairness. How uneven it can be. I asked myself what I owed. To the law. To my parents. To myself. No one could answer that for me. The hardest part was accepting that doing the right thing might still hurt. I stopped looking for villains. There were none. Only tired people and heavy choices. Some debts cannot be paid with apologies. That truth settled slowly. I learned to separate compassion from responsibility. To care without disappearing. That balance took time. And it changed me. The work began quietly. Not all at once. One step at a time. There were forms to gather. Old records to request. Conversations that felt endless. I learned words I had never used before. Appeals. Liability. Documentation. Every evening, I sat at my table again. Paper spread out like a map I did not choose. Some nights I cried. Others, I did not feel anything at all. I kept going. I set boundaries with my parents. Gentle. Firm. I told them what I could help with. And what I could not. That was new for all of us. I did not abandon them. But I stopped carrying everything alone. Slowly, I found my footing. I learned that standing up for myself did not mean walking away. It meant standing in my own place. The process took time. Months. Then more months. Progress came in inches. Not miles. But each small step mattered. I began to trust myself again. To believe I could face things without breaking. The debt was still there. But it no longer defined me. I was more than a name on a form. That realization brought relief. And strength. Today, my life looks different. Not easier. But clearer. I still think about that letter. How quietly it arrived. How loudly it changed things. My parents are older now. Softer. More honest. We talk differently. With fewer secrets. I do not blame them the way I once did. But I do not excuse what happened either. Both can exist. If I could speak to my younger self, I would tell her this. Ask questions early. Protect your name. Love does not require silence. I wish my parents had trusted me sooner. I wish fear had not spoken for them. But wishes do not change the past. What changes us is what we do next. This experience taught me to stand gently but firmly. To care without disappearing. And to understand that forgiveness is not the same as forgetting. If you are listening to this and something feels familiar, please do not wait. Your name matters. Your future matters. Protect both. And if you are a parent, remember this. Loving your children means shielding them. Not just with affection, but with honesty. That is the lesson I carry now. Quietly. Every day. If this story stayed with you, please sit with it for a moment. Some lessons arrive late in life, but they still matter. Protect your name. Ask the hard questions. And remember this. Loving your children means being honest with them, even when the truth is hard. Thank you for listening.